but I want to come back to what Vicky offered, the quote about if you marry the
Time.
zeitgeist,
A church that marries the
spirit of
spirit of the times will be widowed in the next.
will be widowed in the next. Okay, if we assume that marriage is it requires love, which some may not, but if that is an assumption in perhaps today's zeitgeist that to marry someone is to love someone, then I would absolutely call bullshit on that quote because, at least in my selfishly personal view, love is a practice and it can be a practice and it can exist throughout a continuum of time. So, like to say that you marry one zeitgeist and will be widowed in the next means that your love was fixed and it didn't grow, it didn't evolve or like re-engage with that zeitgeist, the ever evolving zeitgeist. Just like in an actual marriage, like your husband or wife or your partner is going to be in yourself. Like we're going to continue to change and evolve and feel new things and find new identities within ourselves, be it weeks, months, years, decades, whatever. And as that partner, you have to re engage, relearn, re love that person time and time again. So for a church that feels themselves being widowed from their their current zeitgeist because they, married the previous one, I would say fall back in love. Like the the church too can change, can practice love, and it takes work and it takes effort. So, but I just wanted to offer those 2 cents because, I mean, isn't that what this is all about? Like for the love of God, for love of each other, for fellowship, for it's not just like okay, I loved you, and that's it. It's just going to be persistent love all the time, like in the static state.
I think,
Uh,
I
yeah,
think
call bullshit.
the way
Hmm.
I look at that quote, I don't necessarily agree with it either. But the way I look at that quote is, if you want to look at law, if you want to look at a country's law, the zeitgeist of our times is that if you look at all these characters that talk about success, everything is very capitalist, right? Everything is very,
Right.
money is how you define your effort made into something tangible, is our understanding. So if the law of our times tends to favor capitalistic notions outrageously more than anything else,
Mm,
if the law said, no, 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 it is about you cannot do welfare programs because that is not capitalist, and we understand that this is how we define effort. And if the law marries the spirit of the times, so marriage is not about love, it is about the law becoming extremely
uh,
capitalist. And say
Mm,
30 years down the line, we understand what Marxism was originally about, and we understand that defining everything in terms of money was a really foolish notion. Then the law, the constitution that merits capitalism, which was the spirit of the previous time, would
mm-hmm,
be widowed because it makes no sense. You
right.
should actually have welfare programs because money is how a society makes wealth together, and society together should, if that becomes the spirit, then it changes.
Mm-hmm,
So, for example, even in church's history, if you went back to 1400s Florence, and there were all these bankers just giving so much money, and it was happening in a very hush hush sort of, it is not legal but legal sort of thing. But if the church at the time fully embraced just, oh, wealthy people, yes, we will give them utmost priority, they can do whatever they want, if it legitimizes that, if the canon legitimizes that, if the doctrine legitimizes that, the next age will not be able to respect the doctrine because you married, quote unquote, the spirit of the previous age. So I
mm,
think that is what the quote means. You
yeah.
cannot change too much just because the current generation accepts something as normal. These rich Medici bankers controlling the whole world might be normal for this period of 150 years, but from the time of St. Peter to Pope Francis, a religion that exists should not be dictated by those 150 years, is
Hmm.
what the court is trying to get at. So that's the same thing with law and capitalism, for example. So if the law, instead of equality, focuses on utilitarian capitalistic value, then 50 years down the line, it'll look something completely unrespectable. So, so it's not just about empathy, it's a more complicated argument, the spirit of the times.